The animals were stupefied. This was wickedness, far outdoing Snowball's destruction of the windmill, but it was in some minutes before that they could fully take it in. They all remembered, or thought they remembered, how they had seen Snowball charging ahead of them at the Battle of the Cowshed, how he had rallied and encouraged them at every turn, and how he had not paused for an instant, even when pellets from the Joneses' gun had wounded his back. At first it was a little difficult to see how this fitted into him being on Jones's side. Even Boxer, who seldom asked questions, was puzzled. He lay down, tucked his four hoofs beneath him, shut his eyes, and with hard effort managed to formulate his thoughts. "I do not believe that," he said. "Snowball fought bravely at the Battle of the Cowshed. I saw him myself. Did we not give him Animal Hero First Class immediately afterwards?" "That was our mistake, comrades, for we know now it was written down in the secret documents that we have found, that in reality he was trying to lure us into our doom." "But he was wounded," said Boxer. "We all saw him running with blood." "That was part of the arrangement," cried Squealer. "Jones's shot only grazed him. I could show you in his own writing if you were able to read it. The plot was for Snowball at the critical moment to give a signal for flight and leave the field of the enemy, and he would have nearly succeeded. I would say, comrade, he would have succeeded if it had not been for her heroic leader, Comrade Napoleon. Do you not remember how, just at the moment when Jones and his men had got inside the yard, Snowball suddenly turned and fled, and many animals followed him? And do you not remember, too, that when just at that moment, when panic was spreading all it seemed lost, that Comrade Napoleon sprang forward with a cry of "Death to humanity!" and sank his teeth into Jones's leg? Surely you remember that, comrades!" exclaimed Squealer, frisking from side to side. Now when Squealer described the scene so graphically, it seemed to the animals that they did remember it. At any rate, they remembered that at the critical moment of the battle Snowball had turned to flee, but Boxer was still a little uneasy. "I do not believe that Snowball was a traitor at the beginning," he said finally. "What he's done since is different, but I believe that at the Battle of the Cowshed he was a good comrade." "Our leader, Comrade Napoleon," announced Squealer, speaking very slowly and firmly, "has stated categorically, comrades, that Snowball was Jones's agent from the very beginning, yes, from long before the rebellion was ever even thought of." "Ah, that is different," said Boxer. "If Comrade Napoleon says it, it must be right." "That is true spirit, comrade," cried Squealer. But it was noticed he cast a very ugly look at Boxer with his twinkling eyes. He turned to go, then paused and added impressively, "I warn every animal on this farm to keep his eyes very wide open, for we have reason to think that some of Snowball's secret agents are lurking among us at this moment." 4 days later, in the late afternoon, Napoleon ordered all the animals to assemble in the yard. When they were all gathered together, Napoleon emerged from the farmhouse wearing both his medals, for he had recently awarded himself Animal Hero First Class and Animal Hero Second Class, with his 9 huge dogs frisking around him and uttering growls that sent shivers down the animals' spines. They all cowered silently in their places, seeming to know in advance that some terrible thing was about to happen. Napoleon stood sternly surveying his audience, and he uttered a high-pitched whimper. Immediately the dogs bounded forward, seized 4 of the pigs by the ear, and dragged them squealing with pain and terror to Napoleon's feet. The pigs' ears were bleeding, the dogs had tasted blood, and for a few moments they appeared to go quite mad. To the amazement of everybody, 3 of them flung themselves upon Boxer. Boxer saw them coming and put his great hoof, caught a dog in mid-air, and pinned him to the ground. The dog shrieked for mercy, and the other 2 fled with their tails between their legs. Boxer looked at Napoleon to know whether he should crush the dog to death or let it go. Napoleon appeared to change his countenance, and sharply ordered Boxer to let the dog go, whereat Boxer lifted his hoof, and the dog slunk away, bruised and howling. Presently the tumult died down. The 4 pigs waited, trembling, with guilt written in every line of their countenance. Napoleon now called upon them to confess their crimes. They were the same 4 pigs that had protested when Napoleon abolished the Sunday meetings. Without any further prompting, they confessed that they had been secretly in touch with Snowball ever since his expulsion, that they had collaborated with him in destroying the windmill, and that they had entered into agreement with him to hand over Animal Farm to Mr. Frederick. They added that Snowball had privately admitted to them that they had been Jones's secret agent for years past. When they had finished their confession, the dogs promptly tore their throats out. In a terrible voice, Napoleon demanded whether any other animals had anything to confess. The 3 ants who had been ringleaders in the attempted rebellion over the eggs now came forward and stated that Snowball had appeared to them in a dream and incited them to disobey Napoleon's orders. They too were slaughtered. Then a goose came forward and confessed to having a secret 6 years accord during last year's harvest, and ate them at the night. Then the sheep confessed to having urinated in the drinking pool, urged to do this, so they said, by Snowball. And 2 other sheep confessed to having murdered an old ram, especially devout follower of Napoleon, by chasing him round and round a bonfire when he was suffering from a cough. They were all slain on the spot, and so the tale of confessions and executions went on, until there was a pile of corpses laying before Napoleon's feet, and the air was heavy with the smell of blood, which had been unknown there since the expulsion of Jones. When it was all over, the remaining animals, except for the pigs and the dogs, crept away in a body. They were shaken and miserable. They did not know which was more shocking, the treachery of the animals leagued themselves with Snowball, or the cruel retribution that they had witnessed. In the old days there had often been scenes of bloodshed equally terrible, but it seemed to them it was far worse. Now it was happening among themselves. Since Jones had left the farm until today, no animal had killed another animal. Not even a rat had been killed. They had made their way to their little knoll where the half-finished windmill stood. In one accord they all lay down as though huddling themselves for warmth. Clover, Muriel, Benjamin, the cows, the sheep, the whole flock of geese and hens, everyone indeed, except the cat, who had suddenly disappeared just before Napoleon ordered the animals to assemble. For some time nobody spoke. Only Boxer remained on his feet. He fidgeted to and fro, swishing his long black tail against the sides and occasionally uttering a little whinny of surprise. Finally he said, "I do not understand it. I would not have believed that such a thing could happen on our farm. It must be due to some fault in ourselves. The solution, as I see, is to work harder. From now onwards I shall get up a full hour earlier in the mornings." And he moved off his lumbering trot and made for the quarry. Having gotten there, he collected 2 successive loads of stones and dragged them down to the windmill before retiring for the night. The animals huddled above Clover, not speaking. The knoll where they were lying gave them a wide prospect across the countryside. Most of Animal Farm was within their view. The long pasture stretched down to the main road, the hayfield, the spining, the drinking pool, the plowed fields where the young wheat was thick and green, and the red roofs of the farm building were smoke curling from their chimneys. It was a clear spring evening. The grass and the bustling hedges were gilded by the level rays of the sun. Never had the farm with a kind of surprise and remembered that in their own farm every inch of it was his own prosperity. It appeared to the animals so desirable a place. As Clover looked down the hillside, her eyes filled with tears. If she could have spoken her thoughts, it would have been to say that this was not what they had aimed at when they had set themselves years ago to work at the overthrow of the human race. These scenes of terror and slaughter were not what they had looked forward to in the night when old Major had first stirred them to rebellion. If she herself had any picture of the future, it had been a society of animals set free from hunger of the whip, all equals, each working according to his capacity, the strong protecting the weak, and it protected the lost brood of ducklings with her foreleg in the night of Major's speech. Indeed, she did not know why they had come to a time when no one dared speak his mind, when fierce growling dogs roamed everywhere, and when you had to watch your comrades torn to pieces after confessing to shocking crimes. There was no thought of rebellion or disobedience in her mind. She knew that, even as things were, they were far better off than they had been in the days of Jones, and that before all else it was needful to prevent the return of human beings. Whatever happened, she would remain faithful, work hard, carry out the orders that were given her, and accept the leadership of Napoleon. But still, it was not for this that she and the other animals had hoped and toiled. It was not for this that she had built the windmill and faced the bullets of Jones's guns. Such were her thoughts, though she lacked the words to express them. At last, feeling this to be some way a substitute for the words she was unable to find, she began to sing The Beast of England. The other animals sitting round her took it up, and they sang it 3 times over, very tunefully, but slowly and mournfully, in a way they had never sung it before. They had finished singing it for a 3rd time when Squealer, attended by 2 dogs, approached them with the air of having something important to say. He announced that, by special decree, Comrade Napoleon, Beast of England, had been abolished. From now onwards it was forbidden to sing it. The animals were taken aback. "Why?" cried Muriel. "It's no longer needed, comrade," said Squealer stiffly. "Beast of England was a song of the rebellion, but the rebellion is now completed. The execution of the traitors this afternoon was a final act. The enemy, both external and internal, has been defeated. In Beast of England we expressed our longing for a better society in days to come, but that society has now been established. Clearly the song is no longer has any purpose." Frightened though they were, some of the animals might possibly have protested, but at that moment the sheep set up their usual bleating of 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, which went on for several minutes, and put an end to the discussion. So Beast of England was heard no more. In its place, Minimus, the poet, had composed another song, which began, Animal Farm, never through me shall come to harm. And this was sung every Sunday morning after the hoisting of the flag, but somehow neither the words nor the tune ever seemed to the animals to come up to the Beasts of England.